Hi guys, my name is Gabby Reuter and this is Marianne Simons, and we are going to do a new series on horse and human relationships and how to improve them.
I'm Marianne Simons. I've spent a lifetime working from wild horses to domestic horses, primarily working with high-performance sport horses on transferring the knowledge of horse behavior into everyday simple techniques that everybody can use to have their horses behave better and also perform better.
So let's start. The first one is on spatial awareness.
And spatial awareness is very important, but realize in nature, the first thing a horse learns when it's 15 minutes old is my space, your space. If you're full and you've just been born and the herd takes off running and you don't know where your space is, you're going to get run over and you're going to hurt other horses. So every horse in the herd teaches spatial awareness. It's very important. Mares have a good sense of it, you'll probably notice, because they use their ears, and put them back and say, get out of my space. And they're not being mean or bad, they're just talking. But the boys, because they don't grow up in a social herd of mares, they don't know what space awareness is. They're kind of like bumper cars. So they have to learn it. But it will be very important to learn this to make your horse more confident, but also for safety and being able to handle your horses better.
Exactly. So I got a new horse, Chili, at the end of last year, and we're going to teach him and see what he knows already about spatial awareness. Let's go. Okay, so step one, we are going to analyze what spatial awareness is for Chili and if he has any. And
a lot of times people think a stall is off target for doing anything. People go, my horse is tall, so I don't want to do anything in there. But really, a horse that respects you will move around no matter where you ask him to move around. Just ask another horse. So we're going to go in the stall and see if he has any idea of how big his body is or any spatial awareness with us. So the first thing we're going to do is a horse greeting. And the reason horse greetings are so important is you need to know your horse is paying attention. And since, just like my space, your space, understanding spatial awareness, horses need to know who you are and what you're going to ask. So you notice how he just came over to say hi? Very functional. That was a lovely greeting because he's drinking water and he came over to just say hi. And he made eye contact. So as soon as he's done, I'm going to make eye contact. I'm going to do a little nose bump. And then I'm going to go back on his withers and give him a little bit of a scratch, just like a horse would do. Now, if he felt bad in his body, he would move away. But he's not interacting with me, but he's taking a bite of hay and saying, I'm perfectly fine. All right, so we're in his stall, in Chili's stall, and he's eating hay, and he's totally relaxed, and he did a nice eye contact, little nose bump, little hand on the withers for scratching. But I'm going to say, I'd like to have the hay now. So Gabby and I are going to move in and we're going to actually kind of push him away because he hasn't done this before, so there's not a lot of space. And he may not understand why we're pushing him away from his hay. So you see, he's like, why are you doing this? So he doesn't understand move away from something yet.
No.
Not his fault, so we would never want to get upset with him. If I stand here in front of his hay, instead he's going to you and saying, hey, is it okay if I just hang with you guys? Very sweet. But he's like, what do I need to do to get
my hay back?
Now, my hay back. So he's telling us he has a gentle personality, but he doesn't know what we're asking. So we'll take it outside and show.
Okay.
As we take Chili out of his stall, he's a little bit pushy. And that's indicative of a horse that's a little worried, that doesn't know how big his body is or where he fits in. So they end up getting pushy and walking into people because they don't understand space. So space awareness teaches two things. It teaches the horse how big his body is, and it also teaches him how not to run into humans. So we're going to work on that. So step two on space awareness is, how does your horse lead? And a lot of people don't think this is important, but in the world of horses, this is extremely critical because whoever's eye is in front is the leader. They're the decision maker. So when you have a horse like Chili that's not that confident, making decisions, he could run into you, and it's your job to get out of the way. Whereas if your eye is in front, it's his job to get out of the way. And what will happen is, as you teach your horse where to position himself, he'll get behind you and realize this is a safe place. But right now, when you look at him, he's worried, his little lip is tight, wants to go present that he's more confident than he is. So let's just see how he walks up and down with you. And just talk to him and say, as long as you're in connection with him, with your hand and your eye, and he's listening to you, he's paying attention. It's
Okay,
when
we're
he
gonna turn
starts to
here.
walk off without you that you need to
Like
stop and back up. Like
There,
that.
I'm getting pushed a little.
Okay, so let
You
me
see?
take him for a second and just show you a couple of things to do. Because he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He's not being bad. He just has not learned this.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's over there? So we're going to try to get his attention and say, nose bump again, because that reinforces that forebrain. I don't know what that was. Yeah, okay, now I want you, and you can talk to him and say, I want you to stay with eye contact with me. You don't walk in front of me. All right, let's walk. You can walk. Come on. All right, now if he starts to go, I'm going to do this just to show him this is my space. If he hits it, it's himself, not me. I didn't do anything. I didn't pull. There's no chain on the nose. And this is a misnomer. People lots of times will put a chain on the nose and jerk on him. All you've done is made that horse mad and want to fight. And you see what he's doing now? He's playing with my hair going, oh, okay, maybe I need to stay. And because he's leaning, he's a little worried about that. So I'm going to honor the fact he's not very brave and give him a hand up here on the withers. And I'm actually even going to go over to this side. And this is something we don't do often, but if your horse is worried and he's walking into you and wanting to pull away, change positions. Maybe he's scared of something over there. Okay, so now try it and you do that and see if you can keep eye contact and have him relax and lead better with you.
Okay. Hi. Okay, can we walk forward? Come on, walk on.
You're fine, Chili.
Hi, Chili.
You can do this.
There we go. Good boy.
Here. And then if you decide to halt,
Oh.
halt. And if he doesn't back up, you can actually stand in front of him so he feels your energy. And literally, I'll use my hand to back them up because he has to learn. He doesn't know what it feels like. And then I'll say, stay, just like a dog, because he has to learn proprioception. Where is his body relative to you?
Yeah.
But right now, he's looking around. But as soon as he realizes, this is the cool part, as soon as he realizes you can make him stay in a certain space, he will relax and go to sleep because he doesn't have to be on guard. And these kind of little things are very important. Just standing still in the space you put him in, not creeping up.
But like if his attention is in other places, you know, and it's not with us, how do you get his attention back?
This is where you bring him back to paying attention to what you're asking, standing still, because he is going to look around and we don't want him not to, but you see he doesn't understand he's supposed to stay. His mom didn't teach him this. And so with a young horse, even though he's not young, he's young in what he's learned, he hasn't learned how to stand still. Remember, the first thing a horse learns is my space, your space, and then stand still or move. But that needs to be directed by you.
But like this is what he does also when I'm riding. Like he loses attention on me and he'll look to the side. Then he'll spook about something and then his attention is elsewhere, you know? So like if we can get him attention on me on the ground, that'll translate to attention on me riding,
Absolutely,
right?
100%. And so he's worried about what's coming around, so you can tell him, dude, you know, you're fine. You can deal. Because you want him to be brave for you.
Okay.
But he needs to know your energy is strong enough to protect him. And that means if he does this, whoa, I want to go, and you put him back, eventually, after about 3 times, he just goes, okay, okay. So this is actually the second step that is very important to do, is leading and making sure your horse can stand still or move when you ask them to.
Okay, so I think there are a few tips here that you've mentioned, right? So I think the first one is if you're asking them to, like if they're moving past you or into your space while you're leading, you can move the lead rope around a little bit to get them to pay attention to
Right, you're trying to gain their awareness.
Then another tip is that you want to make sure that like they'll stay when you stay and when you say stay, and they will stay in that space until you tell them to move.
Correct.
And then the third one is that when you want to get their attention, you can do certain things like ask them to back up.
Yes.
To come back into your attention.
And the other thing I'll bring in at this point too, because a lot of times, you know, you take your horse out, they're eating grass and they're fine, and then they decide they want to go over here and people start pulling on them.
Yeah.
But and he's looking, he's very limber, that's good.
Yeah.
But actually it is and so notice he didn't move.
Yeah.
He flinched, but he didn't move because he's honoring our space, which is great. So we're going to reward him and say, that was pretty brave, that was good. But if you want your horse's attention and you do something to the nose, you make them angry and worried. If you take a lead rope or your hand and tap here, it goes to the brainstem, which makes them think about their body. And it relaxes them.
And this you can use, and you've taught me, like if you're grazing and your horse is pulling, or like you don't want them to graze anymore and you want them to leave, you just tap them in the shoulder to get their attention back. Not pulling on the lead rope, not pulling them away from you, right? To just be like, hey, and this works because I've done it, and you taught it to me and I've done it, so that works.
Well, and it translates when you're on them. That's why it's so important to keep reinforcing eye contact, nose bump. You see how he keeps looking for that security? That's an insecure horse that's saying, am I okay? Am I okay?
That's why he does it.
That's why he does it a lot. Where a mare will do it to greet, but a gelding's going to do it every time they're insecure. He's going to nose bump you and say, am I okay? Am I okay? He's asking. And you have to come back and say, you're fine. And you're doing just what I asked you to do. Stand still. Because he's telling us, I'm worried, I'd like to move. And we said, no, you can't move in our space. So that was very good. And like I said, it's going to translate the eye contact nose bump to the hand on the withers to give him a little security. So when you're up there riding and he sees something, and you put the hand on the withers, his hind brain is what relaxes. He doesn't have to think about it. He's like, oh yeah. Because that's what mom used to do. Foals would run underneath their mom and mom would scratch them. So it's a very soothing. It's like putting your arm around a horse because they need touch and tactile. And we don't give it to them. We do everything on the face, which is so unhorse-like. We need to be more horse-centric, not human-centric.
If your horse is worried or you can tell that they're worried, like don't get after them. Make sure that you acknowledge that they're telling you they're worried, and you can do so by putting a hand on their withers and being like, hey, like it's okay. Don't ignore it because they're telling you something, they're talking to you, so be like, okay, I see it, you're okay, and then move on.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yep,
Okay.
you got it.
Good.
Good job. So you want to make sure you've got eye contact, a little nose bump, hand on the withers. We're reinforcing social greetings, and I'm going to tell him what I'm going to do. We're going to lead, and I want you to stay behind me. I'm leading, you follow. So I keep eye contact with him. So when their heads are up, they're on high alert. When their heads are down, they're relaxing. And while he's getting in front of me, I'm going to remind him, you're getting a little bit too in front. And you see how quickly he backed up? Very good. So I'm going to reward him back here and say, that was really good, because if you don't reward for good behavior and for good awareness, the horse doesn't know what he did right. So it's really important to reward. And then tell him to stay. So you hear that? He's relaxing because he's understanding. This is something that's wired so deep in a horse's brain, and we don't use it. And this is such a simple exercise to do that makes your horses feel so much more confident. You go to a horse show and you don't, do all the things we do to them, but just walk them around and tell them, you stay in your space. Oh, he's creepy. That's another game horses play. So I'm going to put him back and say, no, he can't creep. All right, now we're going to walk up and back, and I'd like you to stay right behind me. But I'm going to keep eye contact with him. Good boy. So you're playing like red light, green light, mother may I with your horses. And you have to think like a horse. So if there's something scary over there and he really gets worried, you need to be paying attention to it before he does. And he's a little worried. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little trick, and I'm going to change sides for him to just let him know I got his back, okay? That was just a little more than he wanted to deal with without looking at it. He doesn't need to look at it now because I just did it for him. Okay, and I'm going to halt. Woohoo, good boy, good boy. Gabby, you want to do the same thing?
Okay.
Very
I'll
good.
try
He's
now.
very proud of himself too. Very proud.
Okay. Walk on. Walk on.
And that's a nice loose lead rope. You see his head's going down. You're relaxed, but you can look at his eye. He's relaxed.
Stay.
Excellent.
Walk on. Come on. And now we're going to turn. I do see the car. Let's go that way. Good boy. Come on. Oh, stay.
Okay,
No.
so now you're going to want to back him up because he's a
went
little bit
into my
overshot,
space.
but he didn't do it intentionally. He just
up.
was a little slow to stop. And the fact that he put his head down to try to smell something tells you he's even more relaxed.
Okay.
Which
Walk
is
on.
great because he can rely on you. And that head, head knob, that's like let's go.
Okay.
And so he's acknowledging you, which is
Oh, stay.
great. Very nice.
Good
and good boy. Yeah.
Good boy.
Okay, so now the next
That's like a
step,
different horse that we got from the beginning. He learns really fast, no?
He does. He's learning very fast. So the next step's going to be, he's got stand still or move. He knows how to lead. He knows how to keep eye contact. Now we're going to go to the paddock and play a space-taking game and see if he can understand it when there's no halters and lead ropes. So the next step is we're going to take him into the paddock and do a little space-taking. And this is done at the walk. It's what horses do all day long out in the wilds. They do it to each other. You know, the grass is always greener on the other side. So you can watch and see. This is not chasing a horse. This is just taking space. It's called space taking. And what happens, what we're going to look for, is that he understands that we're taking every space he says, I want. He'll understand we can take it from him. And we'll see how long it takes him before he kind of stops and looks at us and says, do you want me to stand still or move? And that's what we're looking for in him. We're going to do what horses do, which is they do it to their friends too. And what this exercise does is keeps the horse aware. In nature, whatever horse is the most aware is the one the others respect the most to make decisions. So paying attention becomes a real valued asset in the wild. So come over here with me a second, Gabby, so we're out of his space, and we'll see if he knows or feels it. So we're going to walk over and go, he wants to smell the rope, and we're going to say, no, we want to smell it. So turn up your energy and say, okay. No, this is our space, our space. And you can see he has no idea what's happening. Like, why are you doing this to me? So we need to actually probably just kind of push him away. And I'm going to pick up the lead rope. Again, more to give him a spatial awareness of, come on, this is our space. Move. Move. Thank you. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, now he wants to see what that is. That's ours too. Come on. That's ours. He says, well, I'm going to take it with me then. Good boy.
Thanks, Chili.
Yeah. And let's see. He's already figured out, I'm going to stand and look at you. Don't walk into our space. Chili seems to understand a little bit about space awareness because he hasn't walked into our space while we're standing here. He understands I just can't be in your space. Mm-hmm. He's so willing to give us space. You want to make sure you do these exercises outside of their kicking space, so that you've got your personal space.
Yeah. Marianne has worked on seen and observed wild horses for a long time. What she's taught me is to translate what wild horses do and their behavior into how our relationship and our behavior with our horses can work, which is what we're doing.
Excellent. And you know, so many people think that there's no relationship between wild horses and our domestic sport horses, and yet these are the same creatures, the same genetics that are out there running wild. So we did the space taking. Now we're going to do space placing. So we don't want him, that's a good boy. We don't want him to roll, but we want to stay as far, I mean, you should be able to stay in the middle and control him. So
okay.
I want you over to the corner. We're going to put him in this corner. All right, so the stand still or move, the space taking, this is space placing. And you should be able to put your horse anywhere you want and have the biggest space, because the horse who's the decision maker gets the biggest space.
Okay.
Okay, so now you can go up to him, make eye contact, walk right up and put the lead rope on. So this exercise, it teaches horses proprioception and how big they are, space awareness. It teaches them to pay attention and have awareness to the person. It teaches them how big their bodies are, teaches them stand still or move. And I'll tell you, if your horse ever gets loose and they know how to stand still or move, it doesn't matter that there's a lead rope. They will stop. And that's why we do this. Okay, stay. He's pushing. Let's back him up a little bit.
Back. Back. Good boy.
Good boy. So he did everything right. We got the proper responses, so there's no reason to overtrain a horse when they do everything right. But because he's a boy horse, tomorrow he might forget some of this, so you need to reinforce it a few times till it's solid in him.
I just want to reiterate what Mary Ann said, and you don't want to overdo training when you're getting a yes from a horse and he's doing everything we've asked him. Like, that's time. It's time to stop. It's time to reward. You don't want to go past that line of when, you know, you're getting them annoyed because they've already given you that yes.
You're reinforcing good behavior. And remember, a horse remembers bad behavior and getting in trouble. It's like the old adage, you need to reward 10 times more than what you punish for, so the horse knows what they do right. And then they want to please us because they want to fit in with us. They want to do what we ask them to do. And when you have a willing partner doing everything we ask them, they're having fun. You want to go jump? Let's go jump. You want to go stand still? Let's go stand still and watch things. It's doing all of these things together that reinforce what's natural for the horse to learn. My space, your space, stand still or move, and make eye contact and have a way to talk to you with a nose bump. and then relax them with the hand on the withers. So good
Good
job,
boy.
Gabby. Good job, Chili.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let us know in the comments if you have any questions or if there's anything you want us to teach you next. We would love to do that in this mini series. Just to recap, we did spatial awareness in 3 main steps. 1 was in the stall to see what we had to start with. 2 was leading, teaching your horse to lead properly. And obviously this is a work in progress. It's the first time we're doing it with Chili, so you always have to reinforce. And then the 3rd step was doing it out in the open, no lead rope, in which we taught him spatial awareness to get out of our space and then space placement.
Yeah. Throughout all of that, the key things to remember is eye contact, eye contact, eye contact. If you don't have your horse's eye contact, they are not paying attention. And then the way that you can reinforce that is nose bump. So they look at you, they nose bump. And then if you want the 3rd reinforcement, it's hand up on the withers. And that 1, 2, 3 is exceptionally important for horses to secure that they did everything right.